Is it important, Brigadier? Because I'm trying to get some work done. Look what you made me do now. What do you want, for Pete's sake? I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the targets will be free of the force field now. Well, Brigadier, I think that covers everything for the moment.
Hello everyone and welcome to Theta Sigma's 9th Doctor Who podcast. In this week's show, feedback, the missing voiceover theme from last week's podcast, and the start of a new series, looking at The Master.
Come here, you scrumptious little beauty. A box?
Doctor, what is it?
I've got mail.
Thanks again for all the feedback I've been getting from you, and please keep it coming. There are 3 ways you can feed back to me. Firstly, by commenting on the podcast post itself. Secondly, by inboxing me at Theta Sigma's Doctor Who page. And thirdly, by email at respectthething.com. That's respectthething, all one word and all lowercase, at gmail.com. So what have you been saying then? Well, Anila Wallace, and I hope I've pronounced that correctly, has been enjoying a listening marathon of Theta Sigma's Doctor Who podcast, and after listening to the 3rd podcast about William Hartnell, she commented, "This was a really good listen. I didn't know about him wanting to leave. Sounds as if there was something going on behind the scenes. He was the first, and even though I wasn't born yet, he has a very special place in my heart for what he brought to the role." Thanks for that sentiment, something which I'm sure is echoed by many Doctor Who fans all over the planet. Anila went on to comment after listening to the 4th podcast, which was talking about the various versions of the theme tune. She says, "I love them all myself, but I'm partial to the first when I heard it during the era of 4. I grew up with 4 as my Doctor, so for sure that was the version I remember best. Though for me, as I mentioned in the last podcast, my favourite will always be the 5th Doctor version." After listening to the 5th podcast, in which we took a close look at 2nd Doctor actor Pat Troughton, Anila says, "I love Pat, and even though again I wasn't born yet, I've only seen a handful of his episodes. He gave so much of his heart to the role, sadly missed." Yes indeed, very sadly missed, and very fondly remembered for the role. After listening to the John Pertwee podcast, Anila went on to say, "I liked 3, but he was not my most favourite, but again I wasn't born yet. But I have seen a few of his episodes as well. There was just something about his interpretation that didn't come across too well to me, but I totally appreciate everything he also gave." Thanks for sharing your views, Anila, and as our conversation went on, we also came to the conclusion that all fans will have their favourite Doctors, and we won't all agree on who was or is the best, but we can all appreciate what each of the actors has brought to the role. Peter Jackson has also been listening into the podcast over the last few weeks, and was kind enough to say, "Oh, the videos you make are perfect. I cannot complain. How you do it is beyond me, but wow, keep up the great work. I just love them." Thank you for your encouragement, Peter. It's always good to know that what's being produced is also being appreciated. Of course, being a Facebook-only podcast, I'm never sure of the number of listeners, but recently was amazed to see that the post for the 8th podcast was seen by at least 1,600 people. That's amazing, and I thank all of you who are listening and sharing the podcast on your pages, or allowing me to do so. Of course, if there are any Doctor Who related pages out there that would like a mention on the podcast, please inbox me or leave me a comment on the post for this podcast, and I'll happily include you in the next one.
Who are you?
They call me the Great One.
Why can't I see you?
You will, Doctor, you will, all in good time. But not until you bring me the crystal you stole from Metabelis.
No. No, never.
You are proud, little man. I see that I shall have to teach you to have respect. Round you go, Doctor.
No. No! No, I will not! No! No, I will not! No!
Is that fear I can feel in your mind? You are not accustomed to feeling frightened, are you, Doctor? You are very wise to be afraid of me. Go now. You must hurry back and fetch the crystal. I must have it, don't you understand? I must have it, I must! I must! I must! Go now! Go! Go! Go now!
Now I need to correct an oversight from the previous podcast. You may remember that I said we were going to hear from a foe that had done battle with both the 3rd and the 8th Doctor, and then played a small soundbite from Planet of the Spiders. Well, in the original edit of the 8th podcast, the 8 Legs voiceover theme did feature. However, sadly, Facebook will only allow you to upload videos to a maximum of 20 minutes, so I had to re-edit the show and took out this part. But here for all of you now is the voice of the 8 Legs.
Doctor, I heard you weren't dead after all. Come on out and face me then. You think your mental powers are a match for mine? I can still crush you. We're taking over her plan. If you want to help us, you can be part of our victory. You're too late. Too late. I have trillions of followers from all over the universe. I will bring you under my control, and you will do my bidding. I will find you very useful indeed, Doctor.
For this new series looking at the Master, the plan is to look at each of the main actors who have played the part and their respective interpretations of it. So in turn we'll be looking at Roger Delgado, Messrs Pratt and Beavers, Anthony Ainley, Eric Roberts, Sir Derek Jacobi and of course John Sim. But for this week we start with the actor who for many Doctor Who fans is to this day the definitive Master, Roger Delgado.
I am usually referred to as the Master.
The creative team on Doctor Who conceived the Master as a recurring villain, a kind of Professor Moriarty to the Doctor's Sherlock Holmes. His first appearance was in Terror of the Autons in 1971. The Master's title was deliberately chosen by producer Barry Letts and script editor Terence Dix as evocative of the supervillain names being used in fiction at the time, but primarily because, like the Doctor, it was a title that pointed to an academic degree. Letts had one man in mind for the role, Roger Delgado, a man who had a long history of screen villainy and had already made 3 attempts to break into the series. He'd worked previously with Barry Letts and was a good friend of Jon Pertwee. In his first 3 seasons, beginning with Terror of the Autons, the Delgado Master appeared in 8 out of the 15 serials. In his first season, the Master is involved in every adventure of the Doctor's, always getting away at the last minute before he's captured in the 1971 story The Demons, only to escape imprisonment in the Sea Devil story in 1972. Delgado's Master would often use disguises and brainwashing to operate in normal society. While setting up his plans, he also tried to use other alien races and powers as a means to his conquest, such as the Autons and the Demons. Delgado's portrayal of the Master was that of a suave, charming and sociopathic individual who was also able to be both polite and murderous at the same time. His last on-screen appearance as the Master was in Frontier in Space, where he's working alongside the Daleks and the Ogrons to provoke a war between the human and Draconian empires. His final scene ended with him shooting the Doctor and then disappearing. Delgado himself was born in Whitechapel in the East End of London, often remarking to Jon Pertwee, a close friend, that this made him a true Cockney, as he was born within the sound of Bow Bells. This despite his mother being Belgian and his father Spanish. He attended the Cardinal Vaughan Memorial School, a Roman Catholic secondary school in Holland Park. Delgado worked extensively on the British stage and on TV, film and radio, appearing in the 1955 BBC television serial Quatermass II, and also had a role in the wartime drama Battle of River Plate. He came to prominence in Britain when he played the duplicitous Spanish envoy Mendoza in the ITC entertainment Sir Francis Drake in the early 60s, after which he was much in demand. An in-joke in the 1971 Doctor Who story Colony in Space refers to that role. The Brigadier tells the Doctor not to worry. The suspected sighting of the Master was only the Spanish ambassador. Delgado was frequently cast as a villain, appearing in many noted British action-adventure TV series, including The Champions, Danger Man, The Saint and Randall and Hopkirk Deceased. He also appeared in The Avengers, The Power Game and Crossfire, while in film he appeared alongside Bing Crosby and Bob Hope in The Road to Hong Kong. Delgado began work on Doctor Who in late 1970, his first broadcast appearance being in the January 1971 adventure The Terror of the Autons. He subsequently reprised the role of the Master in many of the Third Doctor serials, including The Mind of Evil, The Claws of Axos, Colony in Space, The Demons, The Sea Devils, The Time Monster and Frontier in Space. The Master's story arc was to have ended in a story called The Final Game, which was also planned to be the final story to feature Jon Pertwee's Third Doctor. Sadly, however, the story was scrapped following Delgado's sudden death. Delgado died on location in Turkey while shooting the never-completed feature film Belle of Tibet. He was killed along with 2 Turkish film technicians when the chauffeur-driven car in which he was travelling went off the road into a ravine. Jon Pertwee often remarked that Delgado's death at the age of just 55 was one of the catalysts that led to his own departure from Doctor Who.
I am usually referred to as the Master. I only need 2 things: your submission and your obedience to my will. You insolent primitive. I advise you not to give me any trouble, Doctor. This is the end, Doctor.
Well, that's all from Theta Sigma's Doctor Who podcast this week. Once again, my thanks for listening, and please feel free to leave your feedback either on the Facebook post for this podcast or inbox me on Theta Sigma's Doctor Who page. So until next time...
Well, goodbye, my boy. You did quite well. Quite well. It's reassuring to know that my future is in safe hands.
Thank you for listening to Theta Sigma's Doctor Who podcast. Doctor Who and its associated shows are all copyright and property of the BBC, and no infringement is intended.